being here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. I appreciate everyone for tuning in, for subscribing, helping us get to 39K this week. I appreciate you all for subscribing and liking the video. It's amazing how each month we're getting almost 1 million views. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. So we're going to get into what's going on. We're going to get into the disclaimer. You know me, I always got to do my setup and get myself going. But I appreciate you all being here. The verdict is not in yet. We don't know if they're finding him guilty, not guilty. We don't know. And I need to make that very clear. We don't know which way the jurors are deciding. If people tell you they know, they must have some kind of special, but we don't know in which way the verdict is swaying. Okay, so we're going to get to some situations. Let me get myself set up here. It's going to take a few minutes for everyone to get in. It takes like 2 or 3 minutes, but while I do that, let me see. But while you guys are coming in, thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for subscribing. Okay. Just give me a second. I appreciate. Okay, I appreciate everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? I hope you can hear me okay. Okay. Thanks for being here. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use is use permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Thanks for being here, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I appreciate you all. Let's see who will get in here first. Please say good morning, and I appreciate you all. We're going to get into what the news is reporting. And like I said before, the reason why I go with the news is because a lot of those people are journalists. They're not going to steer us wrong. Good morning. You're my first. Good morning. Good morning. They're not going to steer us wrong. They're journalists. They have attorneys looking through stuff. So yes, we do a recap review. And then you got to remember, there's stuff that I listen to as well. And I sometimes give you guys a breakdown of what's happening. And then it's like, they'll tell you exactly what I said. So I don't like when I'm listening to somebody, I'm confused about what they're saying. That's why I do what I do, how I do it. Some people may like it, some people may not. But we get to the topic and we're direct over here. So I'm just hitting some buttons of where I want to start first. Yeah. Like the videos, you guys come in. I'm trying to find my favorite though, but I may not be able to find my favorite. I'm going to just go ahead and pull where I need. Oh, yep. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. Like the videos, you guys come in though. Like the videos, you guys come in. We're going to go. Yep. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'm just pulling the source where I want to go first and who's like credible. I don't listen to everybody. I just can't. But having the background that I have, and top fans, this is something new. So I appreciate you guys for being here. This is something new that I'm seeing, top fans. Maybe this is something that you guys have been here before and YouTube is kind of letting me know. But let's go ahead and get to the clips of what the media is saying. But I appreciate you guys for being here. I'll look into what that means.
From the courthouse in New York. Jerika, I know information is coming into counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, but they're saying they're unable to reach it right now on count 1, racketeering conspiracy, the most serious.
Good morning.
It says that Combs led a criminal enterprise and that he committed at least 2 predicate acts. There are 8 that the jurors will see. We have a shot of the verdict sheet, but these are some of the crimes. If the jurors find that just 2 within the racketeering, that would be a not guilty. So we'll, of course, continue to bring you the very latest, but this is happening as we speak. It almost feels like as the rain was coming down, we're getting all of this information. It was sunshine about 20 minutes ago, so we'll see what happens, but that is the very latest here from the courthouse in New York.
Now, Jerika, I know information is coming into you as we speak, and so you're relaying it to us. Can you explain how you're getting this information? Reporters in the courtroom, and we have partial verdicts, but not entirely, and so the judge is basically...
And this is the biggest thing. I don't know if they told the judge yesterday which way they were swaying. If they come in the morning and change their mind, I think they have that right. The judge was very clear yesterday. No one can change your mind. Whatever your verdict is your verdict. The judge is very stern on people being an individual and having their own thoughts. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Saying either you're going to have to go back and finish entirely, or are they going to regroup? What happens now? Do we know?
Yeah, so we have Alice Gaynor. She's a WCBS reporter. She has access to her phone in the courtroom.
Fair use reaction clip. Fair use reaction clip. Please continue to like the video. Double tap the screen for me, you guys. Double tap the screen. If you're watching from a phone, press 1, please. If you're watching from a phone, let's continue.
Have a couple of reporters
Good morning.
in the actual courtroom where all of this is taking place, where Combs is. We know that his mother is in that courtroom. We did not see his children here today, but we're not sure if maybe they will show up, knowing that the jury has reached a verdict in at least 4 of those 5 counts. As for what happens next, we will wait to get another note.
I think his children showed up later, though.
The jury to continue to deliberate, saying they've only been deliberating about a day and a half.
Know that there was a lot of questions that were also submitted to the judge, and so as you analyze or look into what those questions meant or didn't mean, is there anything that we can kind of glean from that? There was a question asked this morning as well before partial verdicts were reached.
That's right. So before we started the proceedings this morning, before the jurors went to deliberate, there was a question about what does distribution mean, and drug distribution.
And like I said, he's innocent till proven guilty in a court of law. I've had to say that from day one. Let's continue. Fair use. Thanks for being here, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, let me know in the comments. Do you feel he is guilty, not guilty, or will there be a mistrial? Guilty, number 1. Not guilty, 2. Or will there be a mistrial? Let me know in the comments.
Those criminal elements that fall underneath that racketeering conspiracy. So in my mind, I thought maybe they're done with the racketeering conspiracy and have moved on to the sex trafficking, because they then asked for transcripts, and what testimony was given by a Daniel Phillip. This was the second person to testify in this trial many weeks ago, and he's a former male escort who said that he remembers possibly hearing abuse in another room when he was with Ventura Combs at a hotel here in New York City. So we have had, we're trying to read between the lines, if you will, about what those notes meant, but this one is very clear. The note saying that the jurors have reached a verdict in 4 of the 5 counts is huge. Now we're trying to figure out, will they have to continue to deliberate? Will this be a partial verdict? That remains to be seen at this hour.
And for those joining us on CBS News 24/7, a partial verdict has been reached in the Sean Combs sex trafficking trial. Jerika, just for those tuning in right now, can you repeat what you heard from our reporter inside the courtroom on those specific charges where a verdict has been reached?
I'm so sorry. Can you say that one more time?
No problem. If you can, just repeat what the reporter had told you inside the courtroom in case people are following in right now or tuning in right now, because we have on our screen a verdict reached in the Sean Combs sex trafficking trial, but I want to make it clear that an entire verdict has not been reached, only partial. And so maybe go over some of the notes as to what you were getting from the reporter inside.
And like I said, I'm not certain if they told the judge what their decision was. They may come in today and change that. Let's let this commercial go past. Fair use reaction clip. Let me know in the comments. Guilty, not guilty, or do you think there'll be a mistrial? Do you think he'll be spending the holidays with his family on the 4th of July? Let me know in the comments. Either way, it's up to the jury. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
I was actually outside just to set the scene, and I noticed Nicole Westmoreland was one of the attorneys for Sean Combs, is walking inside with a family friend of Sean Combs, and that was the first time I remember hearing there might be a note. Whenever there's a note, of course, we all sort of clamor together to figure out what does that mean. And these notes indicate, again, that they have reached a verdict in 4 of these 5 counts. Some of the notes that preceded that announcement, Alice Gaynor said at 4:26 this afternoon, Combs appears to be praying. His head is bowed. His hands are folded on his lap. That the attorneys were surrounding him. At 4:31, Combs' head was down, that he seems grim. Mark Agnifilo had just handed Combs a note. Mark Agnifilo is the lead attorney in this case. So you can even see, based on the media presence too, that people are starting to hear that there is a note and a development in this trial. I'm looking at notes as we're getting them again from Alice Gaynor. That note we already saw. But it really has been a remarkable day when you think about the 8 weeks that these jurors were told they would be here, and this is the 8th week. They heard over 30 witnesses. The defense didn't call any witnesses. They felt apparently that they had proven their case. You know, when you look at the closing argument of Mark Agnifilo, the lead attorney, he said that the prosecutors have, quote, charged one of the most serious, complicated, comprehensive statutes on the books. They have charged personal drug use and threesomes as racketeering. So that was the argument from the defense going into this deliberation period. Meanwhile, the prosecutor said the defendant was the head of Combs Enterprise, that it existed to serve his needs and what he wanted. The other members of the conspiracy in the Combs Enterprise were the defendant's inner circle. That inner circle, they said, was made up of his loyal lieutenants, his chief of staff, and his bodyguards, who helped him satisfy his every desire. Those were the words from Christy Slavic, who gave the closing arguments not long ago in reference to this trial involving Sean Combs.
Jerika, I know you're getting this information in real time. We'll let you gather more information. We'll come back to you, so stand by. We're going to bring in CBS News legal contributor Caroline.
Like the video, like the video. Thanks for being here, everyone. I appreciate you all. Let me know, guilty, not guilty. Can I please get 100 people to please subscribe? And thank you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Lisi, with more on this, we're talking about partial verdict. Explain that and what is happening now in the courtroom.
Yeah, so what's happening now is the prosecution and the defense, along with the judge, are trying to decide what to do next. If at all possible, they would love to get to a verdict in its entirety. It does appear that they are having difficulty coming to a unanimous decision with respect to the RICO charge, which I would note is the most difficult and legally complex charge. But the options, and what I think likely will happen, is that since this is the first time the jurors are coming to the judge saying, look, we just can't come to a resolution, they'll be given what's known as an Allen charge, sometimes referred to as a dynamite charge, which is essentially just the judge telling them, go back at it, do your civic duty. If you can, at all possible, come to unanimous verdict. I mean, the issue here is people need to, and the instructions to jurors are, maintain your integrity with according to what you believe the evidence shows, but keep an open mind, engage in a robust discussion about the evidence, hear other jurors' points of view, and if you can come around to changing your mind with integrity, with really feeling that you come to the right conclusion, then try to get to a verdict. Because a partial verdict, while it is acceptable technically, it's a difficult resolution, especially on this RICO charge, since it is one of those top charges. About that RICO charge, what needs to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, which I'm assuming they're having a difficulty with, is an enterprise, right? You think RICO, you think mafia, mob charges, a criminal racketeering conspiracy. And what needs to be shown is that over the course of a 10-year period, 2 predicate racketeering crimes were agreed to. Again, it's a conspiracy charge, right? So it's Sean Combs agreeing with one of his uncharged co-conspirators. And in this case, the co-conspirators that the prosecution has alleged is KK, Christina Coram, his chief of staff. And then they're saying he had this rotating these bodyguards that rotated throughout that 10-year to 20-year period.
All right, Caroline, I want to interrupt you just real quickly, please.
Like the video, like the video. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 you've been here before where you're watching from. This is something new where it's saying top fans, and they're giving you guys like a number. It's like a crown and a hashtag number 1. And then somebody's got like a crown and hashtag number 3. This is new to me. I've been on YouTube for a while. I've never seen that. It may be because I do get a lot of great interaction. So can you guys see the number 1s and the crowns, or you can't see that? It's just on my side. Fair use reaction clip. And like I said, he's innocent until proven guilty. No decision hasn't been made. What do you think the verdict will be? Guilty, not guilty? Let me know in the comments. Or do you think it'll be a mistrial? Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Can you guys see the crowns and the hashtag?
Stand by for more on breaking this down, but I do want to get back to CBS News national correspondent Jerika Duncan, joining us live from New York City now. Jerika, I know that you have more information just coming into you in real time. Why don't you tell us?
Okay, you do see the crown. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. Thank you. Let me know if you guys feel he's guilty, not guilty, or innocent. Thanks for being here, everyone. The jury is still deliberating. There has not yet been a decision. And many people don't know which way they're swaying.
Notes from inside the courtroom that the jury has a decision on 4 of the 5 counts. But we're not sure whether or not they are definitely going to go back and deliberate. The prosecution wants them to continue to deliberate, as well as the defense. But the Combs children, we just saw 3 of his daughters that walked back in. So again, earlier I mentioned that it was just his mother that was here today, and that we noticed his attorneys go back inside within the last 45 minutes or so. And the notes that were coming in early on was that Combs appears to be praying, that he had his head bowed and his hands folded on his lap, that Combs' head was down and that he seems grim, and that Mark Agnifilo, his lead attorney, just handed Combs a note. That was around 4:30 this afternoon. So we're looking to get some more insight as to what's happening inside the courtroom.
And what did that note say? Because whatever the jurors are deciding, it's between them. I don't even think the lawyers know which way they're swaying. We don't know. Maybe he said they're trying to come down with a verdict. And maybe he thought that they wouldn't. I don't know. Are the emotions real, fake? We don't know. Will they make a decision today or will they make a decision tomorrow? Fair use reaction clip. A decision has not been made. Do you think he's guilty, not guilty? Which way will the jurors sway?
Again, the judge saying that the jury should keep at it. The defense wanting that to happen. But it's that racketeering conspiracy, count 1, that they have not reached a decision on.
And Jerika, behind you, we see a lot more activity than we did in just the past 15 minutes. Usually when a verdict is reached, family members are contacted. They show up to then hear what the verdict may be. So you're saying that right now his family is showing up. His mom was in the courtroom. But could that be a telltale sign that there's more of an announcement to be made?
It could be. I mean, his family has been here throughout the trial. A lot of times it's been his mother, 3 of his sons. His daughters were here early on in this trial, but to see that they just walked in could be a sign that there is more to come.
And as we look at this,
But remember, this is from yesterday. This is not this morning. I just need to make sure you guys understand that. This is them conversating yesterday. Fair use reaction clip.
Verdict reached. This is breaking news right now. This information coming in within the last half hour. It's important to note that the judge hasn't made the final decision, correct, Jerika? So it's ultimately up to the judge to then tell the jury.
It looks like another sprinter just pulled up, and that's typical as well, because you'll see the girls will go in and then his sons will go in. So it's likely that his sons are in this vehicle right behind us, and I'm trying to see if I can get a better look. But it looks like that's what's happening right now. So to your point, I think everybody feels sort of the weight of this decision. I mean, Sean Combs is facing up to life in prison, and these are very serious charges, obviously being in federal court. But to hear again, the jury has reached a decision. They said on 2, 3, 4, and 5. And just to repeat that, that has to do with count 2. That's the sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura. Count 3 would be the Mann Act violation for Cassie Ventura. Count 4 is the sex trafficking of Jane. Count 5 is the Mann Act transportation for Jane. We see some of the sons with the umbrellas up as they enter into the courtroom.
So the sons are there, right now. And the mother and the daughters.
Jerika, we'll let you continue gathering more information. I want to go back to Caroline Polisi to kind of detail what this partial verdict means. And let's specifically talk about the RICO charge and why maybe the jury may be hung up on that right now.
Yeah, the RICO charge is by far and away the most complicated charge in this case. What the government will need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt and convince those jurors of is that Sean Combs agreed with at least one other person to engage in a criminal conspiracy. And that's an enterprise conspiracy. The Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. Typically, you think of mafia organizations, organized crime, things like that. So, a lot of people have noted this is not your garden variety typical RICO enterprise charge. And they haven't alleged that it's bad boy entertainment that is actually a criminal conspiracy. They've alleged more of an amorphous group of people containing Sean Combs at the top, at the helm of this enterprise, and then his chief of staff, and then a rotating cast of characters, including his bodyguards and other assistants, that they agreed to engage in this criminal conspiracy, the object of which was to essentially prop up Sean Combs in the public's eye, to cover his crimes, to basically allow him to indulge in his sexual desires, whether or not that was criminal or not. Drug distribution, transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, what's interesting, and you can sort of game this out mathematically, is that those last 4 charges, which Jerika is reporting they have come to a conclusion about, they have come to a verdict, those 4 charges are 2 of those. If they found him guilty on 2 of those, that would be enough to find the predicate acts necessary for that RICO conspiracy. So part, again, of the RICO conspiracy is this enterprise, but it's also that they engaged in 2 of these predicate RICO crimes within a 10-year period, and 2 of those crimes are sex trafficking and or transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, it's the strongest evidence that the government has, I believe, in this case is just the transportation to engage in prostitution. They brought receipts, they had hotel bills, they had flights lined up.
So you work your face off.
Fair use reaction clip. Like the videos, you guys come in. Please don't forget to subscribe. There's about 250 in the building. Please subscribe to the page. And thank you. Fair use reaction clip. Let's continue.
Because we have our cameras outside the courthouse. We have reporters inside right now. Jerika Duncan's giving us real-time information as she's getting it from the reporter. Family members are arriving. So what is the process right now? I mean, we're close to the end of work hours. I don't know about court times, but does this mean there'll be an announcement today from the judge that jury has to go back? Why are family members arriving right now?
And remember, this was yesterday.
Any family member, if they hear that the jury has even reached a partial verdict, they will want to be there for the time. The judge has allowed the jurors to set their own schedule. In this case, it is nearing the end, 5 o'clock, and typically you do get verdicts sort of towards the end of days. But, in my experience, the judge will not allow the partial verdict to stand and declare a mistrial on the RICO charge. I believe he will give them at least one more instruction, one more dynamite instruction and or Allen charge, telling them to go back, try again, do their utmost best to reach a unanimous verdict in the RICO charge. Whether it works or not, I think he does have the duty to at least give that instruction. And whether the jury decides or elects to stay for the evening and or to come in, tomorrow around 9 a.m. to continue deliberations, I don't know. I would be surprised if the judge simply said, okay, I'm declaring a mistrial on the RICO charge. Let's hear the verdict for counts 2 through 5.
Let's talk about the timing of this partial verdict. Are you surprised how quickly it happened? Are you not surprised? And what does that mean? And what does that tell you?
Yeah, this jury was pretty active. There were a number of notes both yesterday and today. Remember, there was that first note the jury gave the judge saying that they felt that one of the jury members could not follow the judge's instructions, which, was a huge red flag. I mean, it indicates sort of dissension among the ranks. It indicates that the jury wasn't necessarily getting along. But then we didn't really hear much about that afterwards. And apparently they could come to a unanimous agreement with respect to at least 4 of these charges. So they worked that out. There were then, a lot of questions or requests from the judge for evidence about Cassie Ventura, the testimony being read back. So it did seem to me like they were going through methodically those charges. The first day it seemed like they were looking at the RICO charge. And then today, when asked for those transcripts of the Cassie Ventura testimony, well, it seemed like they were looking at the sex trafficking charge with respect to her. It seems like those other counts went pretty quickly. So it seems like perhaps they sort of bundled everything together in those last 4 charges. We never know what goes on behind closed doors. It would surprise me if they only found sex trafficking with respect to meaning Cassie and or Jane, and then not with respect to another. I think the behavior sort of, if you buy into the theory of the government's case and you found him guilty on one, it seems that it would cover the other as well. So, just breaking down a number of scenarios in my mind about what that partial verdict could be.
Sure.
In all likelihood, it's either all guilty or all not guilty.
Absolutely. All eyes on that front door of the courtroom. We have our cameras situated outside. Jerika Duncan standing by for more information from our reporters inside. Can you talk about maybe the timing of the day? Right now, there's a podium set up. Sometimes reporters will be able to get new information.
Remember, this is from yesterday. They're just giving us a breakdown what was happening. It seems as if the mother was there, and then the daughters came, and then the sons came. It's very clear they must be close. They weren't certain if they were going to come to a full verdict because it was towards the end of the day. We were told that the family was there. The mom was in like a white and green outfit. So that's good that the family is nearby. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. There's about 100 and something in the building. Please subscribe and please continue to hit the like, you guys. We only have 13 likes. Can we please get the likes to 100, please? If you're watching from a phone, please double tap the screen to hit the like. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. Please double tap the screen to hit the like. Thank you. Let's get the likes up, you guys, to 100. It only takes a few seconds. Can you please get the likes to 100? Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
But right now, it's kind of like anyone's guess what's happening inside in terms of if the judge is going to make the jury go back or if they're going to keep on working today. Someone entering inside right now. This might be more family coming in after they heard about the verdict, partial verdict reached. So maybe just talk about what's happening inside right now as we wait. All right, Caroline Felici, are you able to kind of expand on that?
Yeah, sorry, I thought you were talking to Jerika.
Yeah, Jerika's standing by.
Yeah, this is the most, the most tense it gets in any trial, to be sure. I mean, the man's liberty is at stake. This is, we talked about this from the beginning. This is not a state domestic violence case. This is a federal criminal racketeering conspiracy charge, and on top of sex trafficking charges, which those two sex trafficking charges carry with it a minimum of 15 years in prison. So that's just the bottom of what he could get. So if he's found guilty on either of the sex trafficking charges, it's 15 years minimum. The RICO charge is a little bit different. There's no mandatory minimum, but it's also a maximum of potentially life in prison. So he is looking at the potential for life behind bars. So this is, it's all in these moments.
As you said, very tense inside. Caroline Polisi, thank you so much for your take on this. Again, if you're joining us, a partial verdict reached in the Sean Combs trial. Judge urging the jury to go back and deliberate. We'll continue to follow this.
Fair use reaction clip. Please like the video. There's about 200 people in the building. Please subscribe, and thank you.
In the Sean Diddy Combs racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking trial has reached a verdict on 4 of the 5 counts. The jury very recently has told the court it is unable to come to a consensus on count 1, that being racketeering conspiracy. I want to bring in our Jarika, who's been following this case from CBS News from its inception. Jarika, as you well know, this is a high-impact, high-visibility story. Lots of people probably got phone messages alerting them to this news. Reset the clock for those just maybe tuning in. What has transpired in the last hour?
In the last hour, we've seen Sean Combs' children arrive in 2 sprinters. They just went inside the federal courthouse there. His mother was there earlier today.
And remember, this is from yesterday. This is not this morning. This morning, people have already started to go into the courtroom. Allegedly, the overflow rooms have been slightly busy at times. The video would show no one in the courtroom, and then they would show maybe the attorneys come out. Then, of course, if they have to ask different questions, they will bring Diddy from the back and bring him along to understand what's happening. But other than that, they said the overflow rooms, people have been slightly chatting, but you have to be very careful not to over chat. But right now, well, yesterday they said the overflow rooms were busy. Plus, they stated that it's been extremely hot in New York. So people were happy that they can go into the overroom, kind of communicate with different people, get to know different people, and just wait to see if there was going to be a decision. So today, I was listening to some people. There was definitely lines. Some people are wondering how, and some people are paying line holders to get into the main courtroom. Some people are definitely paying line holders to get into the courtroom. Some people are reporting people for skipping the line. It's like, even though you're paying a line holder, your line holder is 10. How are you going ahead of people and you're like 1 and 2 if your line holder is 10? And I actually saw a video, I ain't gonna call them out, but people are calling out people that even having line holders, but we get it. Then there's so many press passes for the press, and then there's so many passes for the community. Since there's been so many people trying to get into the courtrooms, the overflow rooms have been extremely busy. Monday, it was extremely busy. Tuesday morning, it was kind of light. And then, of course, as the day went on, people start showing up to the courtroom because they're thinking most verdicts may be towards the end of the day. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Let me know. Do you feel he's guilty, not guilty, or will there be a mistrial? Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. And don't forget to subscribe, you guys. There's about 300 people in the building. Please subscribe and thank you.
About an hour ago, I remember seeing
this was
a couple
yesterday.
Of the defense attorneys running inside. So it was clear that there was an update. And throughout this, we've been receiving notes. But this particular note read, according to our reporter that's inside, quote, "We have reached a verdict on counts 2, 3, 4, 5. Unable on count 1, they said, have jurors with unpersuadable opinions." So what are counts 2, 3, 4, and 5? Those have to do with the sex trafficking, transportation for the purpose of prostitution. They involved Cassie Ventura, an ex-girlfriend of Combs, as well as Jane, another person who testified under that pseudonym, also an ex-girlfriend of Sean Combs. That racketeering conspiracy, though, that is the most serious charge, and it's complicated. There are 8 criminal elements. The jurors only have to prove that 2 of them, or feel that 2 of them have been proven, in order for him to be found guilty on that racketeering conspiracy, as well as believing that Combs led a criminal enterprise for his sexual desires. So even when you take a look at this verdict sheet, for instance, Major, there's the racketeering conspiracy, and then there's the not guilty, guilty. And under that, each juror would tell us, the public, the court, if they believe, for instance, acts involving kidnapping, that Combs was involved in that, whether that was proved or not proved, or acts involving arson, or acts involving bribery. So we knew that that one might be something that these jurors could possibly be deliberating on for quite some time, or in this case, have jurors, according to this note, that have unpersuadable opinions. But what we're hearing again right now, that the jurors have reached a verdict. We don't know what that verdict is, though, on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5.
And Jerika, just to get a sense of things, and I know this is evolving literally by the moment, do you have any sense, based on what you've heard from the courtroom, how this will play out this afternoon? Might it continue in tomorrow? Might the judge tell the jury, I want you to try a little harder, spend a little bit more time on count 1? Or is there any expectation?
And it is Wednesday, and the judge did send them back. So they're deliberating again today. Fair use reaction clip. Please get the likes up, you guys, so we can continue. We're at 32 likes. We've been live for 30 minutes. Please, let's get the likes up. Please double tap the screen. Let's get the likes to 100, please. Let's get the likes to 100. Thank you. It only takes 2 seconds. It supports the page. It helps with the algorithm. Let's get the likes up. I like the show to go fast, but the likes have to be there so I'm in a part of the algorithm and people know we're live. Let's get the likes up. Super chats are welcome. There's about 405 people in the building. Please subscribe and thank you. Let's continue. Fair use. Let me know. Guilty, not guilty, or mistrial.
And we might have the verdicts for those other counts you mentioned actually read out.
Fair use reaction clip. Hold on. Let's let the ad go past. Fair use reaction clip. Let's get the likes up, though, you guys. Continue to double tap the screen. And I see my my notes in regards to most people are watching from a phone or tablet. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
It appears the prosecution and the defense would like the jurors to deliberate a little bit longer. Remember, they just got this case yesterday at about 11:40 in the morning. So they haven't been deliberating that long. And the judge appears to be moving in that direction.
And now it's Wednesday.
That I saw said that they were looking at possible proposals, but it does appear that they were moving in the direction of wanting these jurors to deliberate a little bit longer on that count 1 racketeering conspiracy. There is a chance, though, they could stay a little bit longer tonight. Because early on, the judge said during his instructions, listen, the court closes at 5, but if you all feel that you want to go a little bit later, let us know, and we might make that accommodation. So perhaps we're in that space of maybe they deliberate a little bit longer, maybe they deliberate until 7 o'clock this evening. We don't know, but that was always an option that the judge set out during his jury instructions yesterday.
Jerika, you've covered this case extensively, and that is putting it mildly. Remind our audience the central arguments made by the prosecutors and the defense counsel representing Sean Diddy Combs.
The government essentially said that Sean Combs led a criminal enterprise for his sexual desires, that he tried to cover up crimes, that he was the leader of this criminal enterprise, and that he committed at least, obviously, at least 2, that they believe, of these elements that are part of the racketeering conspiracy. In fact, I can't even say at least 2. They believe that he committed all of them, but they only need 2 from the jurors, as I mentioned before. The defense, though, in their closing arguments said that there were 2 trials that were going on here. One that had to do with witnesses that they believe were not being truthful, and the other one had to do with evidence. And they asked the court, look at the evidence. Look at what those text messages were from Cassie Ventura, from Jane, where they appeared to be willing participants. But the government reminded the jurors that even if you've seen 100 of those text messages where it looks like they are willing participants, you only need to find one time, for instance, with sex trafficking, that they were forced or there was fraud or coercion. So it's very broad when you look at this case as a whole, and a number of legal experts that I've spoken to have talked about that openly, especially when it comes to racketeering conspiracy. But simply put, the defense said that this was a case that was overcharged, and they thought it had to do more with personal drug use and threesomes, not racketeering, they argued in their closing arguments last week.
Jerika, as I mentioned, this is an evolving situation. I want you to please stay with us in case there are any other developments, which I know you will convey to us as soon as they arrive. In the meantime, I want to bring in CBS News legal contributor Caroline Pelosi, who joins me now for some analysis. Caroline, for the audience who may not be accustomed to this process of a partial verdict, is that rare or somewhat common? And in a case like this, to Jerika's last point, for the jury, it seems to come down to, were those involved in any way cooperative, or were they clearly and evidentiarily coerced into participating in the things that the government alleged Sean Diddy Combs was involved in?
Yeah, to the first part, it is pretty rare, although it gets less rare the more charges that the jury has to deliberate on, right? So this is not just a one-count indictment. This is a 5-count indictment. And as Jerika noted, the RICO charge is quite complicated. There was, a lot of information about just the law of RICO for the jurors to digest.
Be kind in the comments, you guys. YouTube is blocking certain comments. Certain words are definitely blocked. Be kind in the comments. Do you think he's guilty, not guilty? There's not a verdict in yet. Guilty, not guilty, or will there be a mistrial? Please subscribe, and continue to hit the like, you guys. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
So it doesn't surprise me that that's the one they're potentially hung up on. I would note they have not yet reached a partial verdict. They have told the judge that they have come to an agreement on those remaining 4, or the last 4 charges, but that they're sort of deadlocked on that first charge. I would be completely shocked if the judge this time around said, okay, we're going to take those verdicts on 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we're going to declare a mistrial on count 1. Typically what happens in this situation is the judge will provide what's known as a dynamite charge. It's called an Allen charge, meant to sort of light a fire under the jury to say, go back one more time, do your civic duty, try your hardest, see if you can, amicably come to a conclusion with a robust exchange of ideas. Nobody's saying that, we want to coerce a verdict here, but we want you to talk to each other and think about the evidence and see if you can really, with integrity, come to a unanimous verdict with respect to that first charge. Now, with respect to your second question, it seems, no, they have come to an agreement with the sex trafficking charges and the transportation to engage in prostitution. I would note that both of those charges and all 4 of those charges are predicate crimes to the first RICO charge. And so if they find that he has been, if they find him guilty of 2 of those 4 charges, those are the predicate crimes for RICO. But RICO has this additional element. It's a conspiracy, first of all, so we need another co-conspirator. And remember, the government didn't charge a co-conspirator in this case. They alluded to the co-conspirator being his chief of staff, a rotating cast of bodyguards. But they needed to show that there was an agreement, that the organization knew what it was doing, that it was an enterprise, not in law, but in fact, that people understood the object of the enterprise, which was to promote Sean Combs and his brands and sort of fulfill any deviant sexual desires he may have had, and then to cover up any crimes committed over the course of fulfilling those sexual desires. And so you do need to buy in a little bit more to a more structured, planned, again, RICO, you think mafia, mob, organized crime, drug rings, things of that nature. So this is sort of a novel interpretation of the RICO charge, although it's being used more and more. So this is interesting on both sides. It's clearly the jury was not buying whole cloth what the government was selling.
And Caroline, to make it clear to our audience, the jury has notified the court it has reached a verdict. We do not know what that verdict is, guilty or not guilty. We know its pendency is before the court, but unresolved is count 1, and it is, if I heard you correctly, your expectation, based on lots of experience, that the judge will say, go back and try some more.
And which he did. And he has that right. Let me know, guilty, not guilty. So far, we don't know what the decision is. I am hearing that people that were standing outside the courtroom, they got there early. If I'm not mistaken, they started trying to walk in around about 7:45, 7:50 or 8. But when they were live, I just watched them live. They were on live and it was around 7:45. So it's right now, it's early. So they've been in court for 30 minutes or so. So will we get a verdict today? Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
All parties involved is not to have a hung jury on that one count. It is acceptable under the law. But again, you see this. Oftentimes you will see this. And sometimes judges will give 2 and 3 instructions to go back. Now, it's complicated because it raises issues on appeal, right? You never want a coerced verdict. And so typically judges land somewhere in the 1 to 2, recharges or Allen charges, telling them, really work hard. But the language of this note was interesting. It did indicate a complete sort of blockage, a complete standstill, that, they weren't going to move. They often will say that, and then sometimes they do come to an agreement. Sometimes they don't. So it very likely could be that the outcome of this trial does result in a hung jury, a mistrial on that first RICO charge. And at that point, the government could decide, based on how those other 4 charges play out, they could potentially retry that case because it hasn't reached a verdict and it wouldn't violate double jeopardy standards. But those remaining 4 charges, I would note, the sex trafficking charges are hefty charges. If they win on the sex trafficking charges, that's essentially a win for the prosecution. Those carry with them each a mandatory minimum of 15 years in prison. So if he's found guilty on both, that's 30 years in prison. The transportation to engage in prostitution is sort of a lesser burden and indeed a lesser penalty. I think if he's found guilty only of those 2, the prosecution would consider that a real loss. And then with this RICO charge, again, it's the top charge, carries with it the possibility, a maximum sentence of life in prison, depending on how the guidelines play out with respect to this particular defendant. But there's a lot of different ways this could play out at this point, a lot of known unknowns, as it were.
Caroline Polisi, thank you so much for that perspective, especially on the charges and if guilty verdicts are brought, implications for Sean Diddy Combs. I want to bring back Jerika Duncan, who's there at the courthouse with any latest of the developments, as well as a sort of summary of this very busy afternoon. Jerika?
Yeah, I'm just getting a note, Major, and it says at the end of it, because it's kind of long, I'm trying to parse through it all, but that the judge could inform the jury if it deliberates, we persist, they would come back Monday, July 7th, and then it says, I can tell them if they agree July 3rd and make accommodations, but that does pose logistical issues. Which way do parties want to go? Government says, give them the option to deliberate on the 3rd, and then defense says they need a minute. So this is happening in real time, but I think all of this means that the judge is moving in that direction of saying, listen, you guys have been deliberating, 12, 13 hours. Let's go a little bit longer to see if you guys can reach a verdict on that count 1.
If you were a juror, would you want to try and finalize the decision today, or would you want to give it the weekend? These jurors have been there for a very long time. Do you think the jurors are over it? They're getting about, allegedly, we're hearing $50 to $60 a day. They cannot be fired from their jobs. Would you want to be a juror? Let me know in the comments, yes or no. Do you think he's guilty, not guilty, or would there be a mistrial? Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Playing out, as Jerika just noted, in real time, it is incremental. The judge is wrestling with the various equities involved, with the jury coming back to it with verdicts on two of the 5 charges, not on count 1. That's our recap. This jury in the Sean Diddy Combs trial in New York City has reached a partial verdict. Let me reset that. On 4 of the 5 counts. The jury has informed the judge it is unable at present to reach a decision on count 1. That charge is a racketeering charge. Next, the other significant story of the day, he calls it this, the House legislation calls it this, the Senate legislation calls it this, the big, beautiful bill. It has passed.
Okay, please hit the like, you guys. Let's get the likes to 100, you guys. I want to continue. Let's get the likes to 100. We want to continue. We got to get the likes to 100. Please, please, and thank you. Hit the like button. Let's get the likes to 100, you guys. Double tap the screen, please. Double tap the screen. Thank you. We want to get to the rest of the video, but I got to get the likes up. There's 52 likes. There's about 100 and something. Just double tap the screen, you guys, so we can continue. Let's get the likes up. Double tap the screen, please. Double tap the screen. It lets everyone know we're live, and it keeps us in the algorithm. Super chats are welcome. Does anyone want to bless me this morning? Help me get breakfast. Help me get lunch. Anybody want to send in super chats? Those are welcome. Yes, and thank you. Okay, let's get to it. Continue to hit the like, you guys. Yeah, so we can continue. Double tap the screen, please. Double tap the screen, please, and thank you. Do you feel that he's guilty, not guilty? Will there be a mistrial? The verdict has not yet been. We don't know what the jury has decided. Let's continue.
Us to this point. Just before 4:30 this afternoon, local time, jurors came back with a note, and we've just learned that jurors say they are unable to reach a verdict on count 1, racketeering conspiracy, but they have reached a consensus on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right now, we've learned from inside the courtroom, the defense wants the jury to keep deliberating and does not want to take a partial verdict. We're waiting to see how prosecutors will respond to this major update from here in the ongoing federal sex trafficking trial. But right now, we've learned.
Be kind in the comments. I'm giving my time. If you only knew. Be kind in the comments. Be kind in the comments. There are pages that ask people to donate. There are pages that say, do you want to be the leader in the chat or something. So there's not anything wrong with me saying if anyone wants to send a super chat. If you don't ask, people won't know. So you want to run your page, how you want to run your page, go over there on your page. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. No one's crying. Be kind in the comments. You'll be deleted. I don't play over here. Fair use reaction clip. Super chats are welcome. I'm still going to say it. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Let's continue.
Jurors are unable to reach a verdict on count 1, racketeering conspiracy. It is the most serious charge in this case. If jurors were to find Diddy guilty of that charge, it would be a sentence of life in prison. Counts 2, 3, 4, and 5 encompass the sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Jurors so far have had lots of questions for the judge. A total of 6 notes, I believe, have been sent out from the courtroom. Jurors asking various things on the law, asking to review more pieces of testimony. Today, early this afternoon, jurors wanted to review the details shared by ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura on the witness stand about Diddy assaulting her at that Los Angeles hotel back in 2016, which was captured in some really disturbing surveillance video. The judge allowed jurors to be sent back with portions of testimony.
Check this out. Did y'all see that video of Gina popping up going shopping yesterday? Are you guys surprised that Gina popped up going to the grocery store and she's given the exclusive to TMZ? Didn't she have an interview with TK about what, 2, 3, 4 years ago? And now she has the ability to change her story and acting like everything's fine. Why Gina pop up yesterday? Why didn't she pop up when she could be called on that stand? Because remember, they said she was MIA. They were trying to reach her. They were trying to reach the attorney. Was there a settlement with Gina? We don't know. But all of a sudden, when jury's deliberating, she pops up. We have been talking about Gina. We have been talking about KK. We have been talking about his bodyguards. Why didn't some of those people have to take the stand? And then it sounds like Gina's trying to change her story. They're listening to media, and that's fine. We have a right to have our opinion. All of a sudden, Gina's going grocery store shopping, saying how she feels about the case. Go look up on Shade Room and Neighborhood Talk. All of a sudden, she pops up when jury's deliberating. Fair use reaction clip. Are you surprised that Gina just popped up? Do you think that was a plot plan and a distraction? We talked about that too. There's been a lot of drama, conflicts, and distractions. The trial, people are saying it's a hot mess. The other day, somebody said this is a ghetto trial. Some people were wondering. They were trying to reach her allegedly. They were trying to reach her attorney allegedly. All of a sudden, when the jury's deliberating, she wants to go shopping and allegedly give an exclusive to TMZ. Was that plot planned? Let me know in the comments. Fair use reaction clip. Some people don't know who Gina is. Gina's one of the ex. She did an interview several years ago talking about her experience with Diddy. Go look up the interview with Gina. Yep, go look up the interview. And now she sounds like she's changing her story. Why is she changing her story? People are not fooled, and they're kind of saying, will the courts do something about that? I don't know. I don't know legal. I don't know if she was supposed to take the stand and she didn't. Can she just walk away and not take the stand if you're called to the stand? I don't know. Fair use. We'll keep an eye on it. Fair use reaction clip. Let's continue. Yeah, interesting. She popped up.
Where she talked about what happened before and after that incident. Jurors also wanted to review some testimony from male escort Daniel Phillip. You may remember he was one of the first witnesses for the prosecution, and he testified about witnessing at least 2 times that he says he saw Diddy assaulting Cassie. He said either saw or heard it happen twice. He also testified that he was paid hundreds to thousands of dollars to have sex with Cassie. Will, if I may, I want to go back to my email and just see if there are any more updates from the courtroom. I'm seeing another email right now. I want to read this to our viewers as we're on the air. The judge says they have 3 options. The jury can continue its deliberations, or jury can continue its deliberations and he can give them some version of an Allen charge. I know you're a lawyer, Will, so I want to share with our viewers who may not be familiar with an Allen charge. It's where the judge instructs the jury to go back and continue deliberations on all of the counts. And this is a 5-count federal indictment. The second option, the judge says the jury can give a partial verdict, which again again, we've now learned that the jurors have reached a consensus on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the third option, according to the judge, is apparently, let me read through this, third option not being considered at this time. The judge is only consider. Okay, so the third option is apparently not even on the table, according to this latest note from the courtroom. The judge right now is only weighing whether jurors should continue deliberations or he should give an Allen charge. The defense is fighting to keep the jury in deliberations, and the judge is taking that argument into consideration. And we're also learning that both the defense and all the defense attorneys and the prosecutors are sort of sequestered off to their sides of the courtroom as they weigh these latest developments coming out of this trial. But the biggest takeaway right now, Will, is I can tell you jurors were unable to reach that unanimous consensus on racketeering conspiracy, the most serious charge in this case. If jurors had found Diddy guilty on that charge, he would have been sentenced to life in prison. But we are going to stay out here at the courthouse, continue to monitor these developments. Jurors have now been deliberating for about 13 hours between yesterday.
And that was yesterday. So they deliberated Monday and Tuesday, and then today is Wednesday. So let's continue fair use reaction clip.
And today. Will, I want to send it back over to you.
All right, thank you, CB. I just want to clarify the top line once again. So on count 1, racketeering conspiracy, which, as you point out, can carry with it a potential life sentence, the jury has not been able to reach a consensus. But on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, sex trafficking by force, transportation for prostitution, sex trafficking by force, again, these charges, the jury was capable of coming back, CB, right? And what was their verdict?
Will, correct. So we don't know what their verdict was on those charges, but they just told the court in this note that they reached a consensus on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5. And Will, if I may, walk our viewers through those charges. Count 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. That related to Diddy's ex-girlfriend and accuser, Cassie Ventura. Count 3, transportation to engage in prostitution. That also related to Cassie Ventura. Count 4, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. That related to Diddy, one of Diddy's another ex-girlfriend and accuser, who testified under the pseudonym Jane. And count 5, transportation to engage in prostitution, that also related to Jane. And if I may go back to the counts 2 through 5, we'll just unpack this a little bit because it's a pretty convoluted case, right? So prosecutors allege that Diddy recruited and enticed Cassie into drug-fueled sex parties with male escorts called freak-offs. And during their closing argument, they pointed out to jurors, they said Cassie never did a freak-off without drugs. They also said the freak-offs took place throughout the course of their entire 11-year relationship. When it comes to count 3, the transportation to engage in prostitution, prosecutors pointed out to jurors of the hotel, bank, and flight records that they say show the times where Cassie and Diddy flew male escorts across state lines for freak-offs. Count 4, another count of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion related to Jane. Prosecutors for this specific count, they point to 3 specific hotel nights between Diddy and Jane that they say were sex trafficking. One time, September 2023 in New York City, another time, October 2023, and a third time, June 2024. The last time, that June 2024 instance, prosecutors really shared a lot of details about that, and they elicited a lot of testimony from Jane about that time because they say it was a freak-off where Jane and Diddy were involved in a domestic violence situation with each other, and at the end of it, Jane testified that Diddy gave her a drug to make her high and then forced her to have sex with a male escort. And then count 5, transportation to engage in prostitution as it relates to Jane. Again, prosecutors pointed out to jurors flight, bank, and hotel records where they say male escorts were transported across state lines to have sex with Jane. Will, if I may, I'm pulling up my email right now just so I can see the latest that we have from the courtroom. Right now, one of our courtroom producers says everyone is in their seats. Diddy is seated with his hands in his lap, and he's having a conversation with his defense attorney, Tinny Garagos, and they're whispering the details. In terms, now that we just unpacked the charges, Will, I should also mention the ambiance, how it feels out here outside the courtroom. Again, this has been a 2-month-long trial with lots of interest because whatever happens, it's going to really reverberate across the music industry for years to come. Not only are the news media is out here, but there are also several influencers, TikTokers, people on YouTube, and they're all across the street in front of the courthouse. The energy is really high. People are talking, some people are yelling, and people are really eager to know what is going on inside the courtroom. Right. Every single day of this trial, Diddy's children have been inside, his family members have been inside, and right now we're waiting for more details about how the judge will move forward with next steps.
In fact,
and they said that in the courtroom, he still has supporters. Even in the overflow room, they're saying they don't have it, they don't see it, free man. People can have their feelings, and over here you can pretty much have your feelings on, of what it is. As long as you're respectful in the comments, I'm cool. You know, you can feel guilty, not guilty. You know, I don't have a dog in the fight. It's up to the jurors. What do you think they're going to decide? What do you think they're going to say? What do you think's going to happen? We don't know. But was it a real reaction on how he was looking yesterday, how his attorneys was looking yesterday? What did all that mean? Were they surprised that they came back with a verdict so quick? Did they think they had it in the bag? That's the real question. Did they think they had it in the bag? Fair use reaction clip
that came out from Elizabeth. This is from Enlin DK. What was the overall vibe in the room? And also, this is from Doug K788. How did the jury look when they came into the room? How did they look at Diddy? So what was the vibe? How did everyone look?
Yeah, as far as the tone and the atmosphere inside that courtroom, Jesse, it was so quiet. I would say you could hear a pin drop, but really all you could hear were the sounds of the court sketch artist really just kind of drawing her painting. Because I remember coming in, and normally I come in around like 4:15-ish because I was thinking, okay, it's the end of the day. The jury's probably going to want to go home around 5. But then there was this tone, this feeling inside. The defense was all huddled together. You saw Ana Maria Esteval's arm kind of around Tenny, Sean Cole.
Fair use reaction clip. Like the video, like the video. Fair use reaction clip. Thanks for being here, everyone. Please don't forget to subscribe. There's about 151 in the building. Did you guys subscribe? And if so, thank you. Continue to hit the like, you guys. Continue to hit the like. Let's get the likes to 100, please. Please double tap the screen so we can continue. Let's get the likes to 100, please, so we can continue. Let's get the likes to 100 so we can continue. Please double tap the screen. And thank you. And thank you for already subscribed. Thank you. Be kind in the comments. Go on your own page and be rude. I don't know what's going on with people this morning, but I'm not having it. Let's get the likes up and thank you. I'm bringing you guys the TTT. I'm actually supposed to be somewhere, but I'm here updating you guys so you guys know what's going on. Let's continue to get the likes up. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Defeated, or he looks worried, or he looks nervous. But this time was different, Jesse. I think once that jury note came down, once he saw that actual note about, because he got the clues before we got the clues as far as they reached a verdict on count 2, 3, 4, and 5. I think there was kind of a moment of nervousness. I felt like you could feel the weight on his shoulder. And then at first I was thinking, oh my God, if they're about to read a verdict, where is his entire family? And then I saw his family members, some that we haven't seen this morning inside the courtroom, start to kind of trickle in. That included all of his sons. That included his daughter.
Guilty. What do you think? Do you think they're going to find him guilty, not guilty? What do you think? Note it in the comments. Or do you think there'll be a mistrial? Fair use reaction clip.
His sister Keisha, included his brother-in-law too. So it was a pretty packed courtroom. I was thinking at a point that they would just read the verdict. I didn't know what was going to be going on. Obviously, they did not read the verdict. None of that had happened. But really, you could feel just the tense atmosphere to the point. A lot of us in the press, obviously, are going to be looking at Sean Combs, looking at his movement, looking at his demeanor. But because the defense huddled so close around him, likely to kind of prevent us from seeing what his demeanor looked like and for us to write it down, those types of things, it really was a tight circle. So it really was kind of a tense atmosphere. And obviously, when the judge got back on the bench and he said that the jury came back that they said that they reached a verdict on count 2, 3, 4, and 5, but they're still kind of not been able to reach a verdict as to count 1. I think a lot of us were just like, oh my God, it's happening. Obviously, the verdict wasn't read. They're going to come back tomorrow, continue deliberating, but you could feel the weight of
the verdict wasn't read. We don't know if they're found him guilty, not guilty. There's several counts that they're looking at, and they're saying that it's possible that they could change their mind. What they thought yesterday, they could literally come in today and possibly change their mind. Fair use reaction clip. Let's continue. Do you think he's guilty, not guilty, or there'll be a mistrial?
The world, especially on the defendant, but also the Combs family. But I will say, Jesse, when they brought the jury in, because they brought them in twice, one to kind of read them, I guess, that modified Allen charge about continuing to deliberate, and then the second time to release them by the end of the day. I will say I did kind of note that they weren't looking in the defendant's direction. I think a lot of them were making their way all the way to their seat, didn't know what the next process would be, because again, they're jurors. They don't know what's going to be happening. They didn't know if they were going to be told to continue deliberating tonight, if they could have the option to come back tomorrow. Obviously, the judge gave them the option to come back tomorrow, but even when they were exiting the courtroom, from what I could see, I couldn't see them necessarily looking at the defendant. But if it was vice versa, I did see the defendant looking at the jurors. So, maybe some people kind of did like a little peripheral eye glance look or anything like that. From what I could see, they didn't look in his direction. So we'll see what tomorrow brings as far as what their possible decision might end up being in the outcome.
Let me ask you this. These modified Allen charge that the judge gave to the jury, what exactly did he tell them? Did he say, go back deliberating. It's different, and it's modified because I think they were trying to stay consistent with what the actual jury instructions were. What exactly did Judge Arun Subramanian tell them?
Well, he told them to keep on deliberating. He said that each and every single one of you must decide the case for himself or for herself, and that no juror should pretty much waver on their opinions in terms of if they feel some type of way, that they should feel that type of way, and it's okay for them to feel that type of way. But in terms of just even what's going to be happening next is the jury will come back, everyone, and they'll deliberate a little bit, and then and then they'll continue on whether or not they need to bring in more specified instructions. But from the defense's perspective, they were pretty adamant that they think it's too early for them to come back with any type of split verdict or anything like that. They were very adamant that they wanted the jury to continue deliberating, but also not give them such a specific instruction in terms of when to come back, whether or not they want to continue on with court on Thursday, or if they want to have a decision made, those types of things. They really were just adamant, just let the jury continue deliberating from their perspective, because it's been weeks of testimony, because there's been so much evidence, because there's been so many witnesses. They being the defense, were like, okay, we want them.
Takes a lot of patience. Okay, so fair use copyright disclaimer. Focus on healthy, safe relationships. Be around people that's loving, kind, and respectful. I will be back in an hour or two. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is use permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Can I please get 20 more people to double tap that screen to hit the like? Can I please get 20 more people to double tap that screen to hit the like, and thank you. Let's get the likes to 100. Thank you, you guys. I appreciate you all. Let's get the likes to 100. We're almost there. 20 people to double tap that screen, and thank you. We're almost at 100 likes. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope this morning I have cleared up a lot for you guys so you understand what's happening. We don't know if they're going to decide guilty, not guilty. We don't know. Let's get the likes to 100. We're almost there, you guys. 20 more people to double tap that screen. I'm glad that YouTube makes it easy, where all you have to do is double tap the screen. And most people are watching from their phone or tablet. Double tap the screen. We're 84 likes. Please double tap the screen. Please double tap the screen, and thank you. And please don't forget to subscribe, you guys. Let me know in the comments. Do you feel he's guilty, not guilty, or will there be a mistrial? We're almost at 100 likes. Thank you. I hope that cleared up a lot for everyone. We're at 85 likes. We're at 91 likes. Thank you. I hope this cleared up a lot of confusion for everyone this morning. 91 likes. We're almost there. Thank you. I hope everyone's having a good morning. I hope where you're at is cooling off. Where are you guys at? Is it really hot where you're at? What's the temperature where you at? It hasn't been really hot where you're at. Let me know in the comments. We're at 93 likes. Let's continue fair use. Were you guys surprised that the jurors made a slight decision yesterday on 2, 3, 4, and 5? Were you guys surprised? We're at 94 likes. Let's continue. Hello, UK. Good morning. Is it really hot where you guys are at? 94 likes. We're almost there. Okay, 80. That's not too bad. Good morning, you guys. 95 likes. We're almost there. Can I get 10 more people to double tap that screen? 10 more people to double tap that screen. Kansas, hot. Okay. 10 more people to double tap the screen. We're almost there, you guys. And don't forget to subscribe. And make sure you turn on your notifications. So that way when I go live, thank you, we're at 100 likes. That way when I go live, you guys will know. My page, we go extremely fast. We go fast over here. And I like to get information from the news. That way there's no confusion. Thank you, you guys. I appreciate it. Okay, I have some major stuff to take care of this morning. I will be back to cover more on what's being said for this morning. Most likely when I'm in the car, I'll be listening to different stuff while I'm in transit. So that way, sometimes when even the news is saying it, they break it down in a way where they're giving us reactions in the courtroom. They're giving us the actions of the family showing up. They're giving us reactions. I like the reactions. So we don't do clickbait over here. We don't do YouTube beasts over here. We get straight to the news. So 10 months ago, I had 3,000 to 4,000 subscribers. Now we've hit 39K. So proud of our page. Real talk. We've had some great people in here. I appreciate you guys' comment. Let me know once again, do you feel he's guilty, not guilty, or will there be a mistrial? I appreciate you all. And do you feel that the judge has been fair? Do you think that this judge has been really fair? With all the distractions, all the sidebars. Interesting case. Yeah, so I will be back. I appreciate you all. Be safe. Have a great, great day. I am. And focus on healthy, safe relationships. Don't be around no jokers. Be around people that love and respect you. Thanks, everyone. Be kind. Be respectful. Goodbye.